The wind carried the scent of dry earth and sunburned grass across the wide plains of Montana. The horizon shimmered like a dream that never ended. And for Cole Tanner, that was both a comfort and a curse. He had spent years watching that same horizon, waiting for something or someone to give his life more meaning than the silence between sunrise and sunset. Cole was a man built by the land, broad-shouldered, tanned by the sun, and hardened by loss. Since then, his ranch had become a quiet, lonely kingdom where only the creak of the barn door and the whinny of his horse, Dusty, broke the stillness. But one morning, the post rider came galloping through the dust with a letter sealed in red wax. It was the kind of letter that could turn a man's life upside down. The handwriting was neat and careful, a woman's hand. "Dear Mr. Tanner, I am Miss Clara James of Missouri. I received your advertisement for a mail-order bride through the Springfield Gazette." Her words were simple, but there was something in them, a spark of honesty, hope, and quiet strength. Cole read the letter 3 times, his heart beating faster with each pass. He hadn't expected anyone to answer, much less a woman who sounded like she'd walked out of a prayer and into his world. He sent his reply that same day, asking her to come to Montana and start a new life with him. Weeks passed. The train was supposed to arrive on Sunday afternoon. Cole cleaned the house twice, even bought a new tablecloth from town. But the train came and went, and Clara James wasn't on it. By nightfall, disappointment had settled over him like dust after a storm. Maybe she changed her mind. Maybe she'd found someone closer to home. He told himself it didn't matter. But when the next morning's sun rose golden across the plains, he still looked toward the tracks just in case. And that was when he saw her, standing there by the platform, a small suitcase in hand, her dress travel-worn and her hair catching the light like spun honey. A day late, but something in Cole's chest told him she was right on time. Clara James had never seen land so wide, so endless, that it made her feel both small and free at the same time. She clutched her little brown suitcase tighter, her gloved fingers trembling not from fear, but from the weight of everything she'd left behind. Her train had been delayed by a washed-out bridge, a broken axle, and then a storm that swallowed the tracks for a whole night. Each hour of delay had tightened the knot in her chest. What if he thought she'd changed her mind? What if he'd already turned away? She whispered a small prayer as the final train whistle faded behind her. When she looked up, she saw him standing by the post, tall and steady, hat shading his eyes from the morning glare. There was kindness in the set of his mouth, but also a loneliness that spoke louder than any words could. "Miss James." "Yes," she said, her lips trembling into a nervous smile. "I'm sorry for being late. The train." He shook his head gently, stepping closer. "You're right on time for me." For a heartbeat, the world stilled. The wind stopped playing with the dust. The birds went quiet, and even Clara forgot how to breathe. No one had ever said something like that to her, not with that kind of warmth. Cole took her suitcase and gestured toward the wagon. "It's a long ride to the ranch. Hope you don't mind the dust." She smiled, glancing at the horizon stretching forever ahead. "I think I'll get used to it." As the wagon rolled away from the station, the silence between them wasn't uncomfortable, it was full of things yet to be said. She watched the land unfold, endless and golden, while Cole stole quiet glances at her, wondering how a stranger could already make the air feel different. When they reached the ranch, Clara saw the whitewashed house standing proud against the rolling fields. "It's beautiful," she whispered. Cole smiled faintly. "It was just a house yesterday. Feels more like home today." The sun dipped lower, painting the sky in fire and gold. Two hearts both worn, both searching, had finally crossed paths on the dusty road of fate. And though neither said it aloud, they both felt it deep in their bones. Something was beginning. The days that followed felt like a dream Clara didn't quite know how to wake from. The ranch was a world of its own, miles of golden fields, fences that seemed to run straight into heaven, and the constant whisper of the wind moving through the tall grass. She spent her mornings helping in the kitchen, her afternoons learning to tend to the horses, and her evenings sitting on the porch watching the sun melt into the hills. He worked from dawn till dusk, the kind of man who believed that hard work could hold a broken heart together. Yet every time he saw Clara standing near the corral, her hair catching the light like a halo, Something inside him softened, something he thought had died long ago. One evening, Clara brought him a cup of coffee as he sat by the barn mending a saddle strap. "You work too hard," she said gently. He looked up, his blue eyes meeting hers. "Work's the only thing I've ever been good at." She smiled. "Then maybe it's time you learn something new." Her voice was soft but sure, and it made Cole's chest tighten. He wasn't used to kindness spoken so easily. When she turned to leave, he caught himself watching her walk away graceful, determined, not a trace of city fragility left in her. That night, as a storm brewed far in the distance, Clara sat by the window listening to the low rumble of thunder. The ranch felt alive, the wind sighing through the cracks, the smell of rain mixing with wood smoke. Cole came to check the shutters, pausing beside her. "Storm will pass quick," he said quietly. "I like the sound of it," she replied. "It makes the world feel honest." He studied her for a moment, seeing not just the woman who had answered his letter, but someone strong enough to build a new life out of nothing but courage. "You fit here," he said softly, surprising himself. She looked at him, eyes glinting with the reflection of lightning. "I'm starting to think maybe I do." Outside, the thunder rolled closer, but inside the small house, the air grew warm, not from the fire, but from two hearts beginning to find their rhythm. Neither of them said another word, but something had shifted. The storm outside had nothing on the quiet one rising between them, wild, unpredictable, and full of promise. Morning came soft and golden after the storm. The world smelled of wet earth and new beginnings, and drew a long breath of clean air. For the first time since leaving Missouri, she felt something close to peace. Cole was already out in the field, checking the fences. She watched him from the porch, how steady his movements were, how he carried the weight of the ranch as though it were part of him. He looked up once, caught her gaze, and tipped his hat with a faint smile. It was a small gesture, but it made her heart stumble. By midday, a rider from town arrived with supplies and news. He mentioned a group of rustlers spotted near the northern ridge. Cole's expression hardened. Trouble on the range meant long nights and danger. Clara saw it in his eyes before he even spoke. "Alone?" she asked, worry flickering in her voice. He gave a small shrug. "Been alone most of my life." Something in her refused to let that stand. "Not anymore," she said quietly. "I'll keep the fire burning till you come back." Those words lingered with him long after he rode out across the plains. That night, the sky stretched wide and dark above the ranch. Clara waited by the window, lamp glowing low beside her. Every sound, the creak of the boards, the wind brushing the shutters, made her heart jump. When hoofbeats finally broke the silence, she rushed to the door. Cole rode in slow, his coat dusted with dirt and his arm scraped, but his smile was steady. "Rustlers moved on," he said. "Guess luck's still on our side." Without thinking, she stepped forward and pressed her hand against his arm. "I'm just glad you're safe." For a long moment, neither moved. Rain dripped from the brim of his hat. Her fingers trembled against his sleeve. The world felt very small, just the two of them in the doorway while the lantern light painted their faces gold. Cole finally spoke, his voice low. "Didn't think I'd ever have someone waiting on me again." Clara smiled softly. "Then it's about time someone did." Inside, two strangers bound by fate, faith and the quiet promise of tomorrow stood closer than either had dared since their hearts first broke.